Now, before the couple could bring Bryn into their home, they had to make sure their home would pass inspection to be approved as safe for all children. That requirement can be slightly intimidating for some. So I decided to see just what it takes to get that seal of approval and invited the licensing expert into my own home. So Lisa is here in my home to kind of give us a brief initial walkthrough. Lisa, what exactly is that?
We like to do an initial home visit before we schedule the health inspector to come out, so we can go through a walkthrough, tell you some of the things you might need to get for the home, some safety features you might have to have in the home, and how to lock up your toxic materials. So we like to kind of go through all of our foster homes before we license them and before we request the health inspection to make sure that they're prepared and ready so they can pass the inspection.
But we want to take out the intimidation. You know, it's some basic things that even new parents might remember back when their children were tiny. Like we'll check on smoke detectors, for instance.
We want to see that you have working smoke detectors, fire extinguisher in the kitchen, laundry room area. We want to see that your toxic materials are all locked up behind a lock and key. A lot of our parents like to think they're on higher shelves, but if they're behind a locked door or unlocked lock and key, that should be fine.
So one of the first things Lisa's going to check is where the cleaning supplies are, because these can be toxic to young children. Most of mine are over the washer and dryer in my garage.
Do you have a cabinet over the washer and dryer?
No, they're just like on a shelf.
Okay, but I see that the door to the laundry room / garage does have two different types of locks on it, which are hard to get into. So I think that we could go with that.
You could see mine, they're stored just above the dryer. Now, what about that?
If you didn't have the specific locks on the door, I would say they should be locked up in a cabinet.
Okay.
This is a little touchy-feely. I'm not sure what the inspector might say, but if he wants it locked up, then we just have to lock it up.
And get a cabinet, or maybe even a cabinet in your garage with a lock on it.
With a lock on it.
Okay, let's check the kitchen.
Okay. So one of the first places we like to look at in the home is the kitchen.
Okay.
We like to see that there is a thermometer in the fridge.
Oh, really?
Because sometimes the health inspector will open your fridge and make sure that the temperature of the fridge...
I don't even know if I have it. I guess I don't.
If you don't, you can always get one at Home Depot.
Okay.
And just put it into the fridge. It could be just one of the standalone.
Okay. And is that to make sure that the food is...
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of health inspectors even pouring a glass of milk and putting a thermometer in it to make sure that it's the right temperature.
Wow, okay. So you really want to get that.
Yeah, that's important. With your alcohol or wine bottles, they really need to be put away or put up on a high shelf. All right. Even though they are still corked, the health inspector does want to see them put away.
Okay. Let's check the bedrooms, like where the foster child would be, and see what you have to say about those. All right, Lisa, this is my daughter's room, and ideally if I had a foster child who was a girl, it would be okay if she stayed in here?
Sure, same-sex children could be in the room together, and since you have the bunk bed, your birth child can have one bed and the foster child can have the other bed.
And what else would have to be ready, or would you advise if I was getting the inspection?
Well, you want to have a separate dresser for the child.
Okay.
And then with your closet, you would want to have half the closet available for the foster child's clothing.
So in other words, you know, obviously mine is full with my daughters. Would you suggest literally having that space and, you know, cleaning out all the drawers prior to the inspection?
I would.
Okay.
I would have it look ready to go for a foster child to come in.
Okay, and what about pets? You see
and
ours there.
I see that you have your little...
You can't miss my little Roxy.
the little Roxy dog. I would definitely have pet vax up to date for her. The health inspector will ask you to see the pet vaccinations, and they need to be up to date.
And that, I mean, will they look for anything else? A cage, you know, anything like that?
No, they just want to see that the pet vaccination for rabies is up to date.
All right, and when we talk about bathrooms, is there a required number? If you have a certain number of children in your house, you have to have a certain number of bathrooms. Anything that I should be aware of?
Foster children can share the bathroom with your birth children. That's no problem.
That's not, and nothing special locked up or done in the bathroom?
All the toxic materials need to be locked away, but there can be shampoo and child-friendly items in there, such as soaps and shampoos for the children. That's okay.
There are some other requirements. For instance, if you have a pool, you must have a pool fence and door alarms. And every home must have a printed fire evacuation plan. And this goes for all homes, no matter how old of a child you are hoping to foster. Now, when you do think of hundreds of kids waiting in shelters, you may think they are all older, perhaps teenagers. But the fact is, more than 50% of those waiting are under the age of 5. Many of them are infants. newborns placed in cribs in shelters with little or no attention all day long. That is what inspired our next couple to change their lives, even though they had no intention of doing so.
I agree with you. Come on,
You
Sam.
could have said, I don't remember saying that.
Scott and Brenda Oakes seem like the typical happy couple. Good jobs, a beautiful home in Boynton Beach, and a brand new baby. But this couple did not have 9 months to get ready to be parents. In fact, Scott didn't even find out he was going to be a new dad until Brenda was on her way to the hospital.
So I had agreed to take her without even talking to him. And on my way to St. Mary's to pick her up, I finally did get a hold of him. And I said, I hope you don't mind. I know we didn't discuss this. This is totally not what we agreed to. But
Brenda works in the child welfare system and knows the harsh reality of just how many newborns are taken from their mothers and have nowhere to go.
Palm Beach County, we have, I think, almost 50% of the children coming into foster care are under the age of 2. And, you know, we really stand by the philosophy that all children deserve a family and should be raised in a family-like setting.
With that in mind, the couple opened their home and hearts to this special little girl.
I was scared because it had been a long time since, I had a little baby around. But after the first day that child was here, she just smiled at me. And I was, oh, geez. She had me right at the smile.
This baby's identity is protected because the goal is to reunite her with her birth mother. But for the past 10 weeks, she has only known these two faces.
For her to be so small, I think, and for us also not to have childcare arrangements, I hadn't even thought through, what are we going to do tomorrow? Like when we have to get up and go to work.
No, she didn't.
What are we going to do?
What they did was phone those closest to them and surprise them with the news. They had a baby girl.
I was almost afraid to tell my family. I almost was afraid that they would discourage me and say, you're too old, or why do you want to do something like that? You're getting on in years. You should be thinking about retirement. That's exactly what I thought they would say. And believe it or not, our family has been, both sides of the family have been so supportive. They've been down here to help out when we called, and I said, I made a really strange decision, decided to take a child with no child care. Can you come down and help me out?
Both grandmothers came down and helped. Now Scott and Brenda are in a routine that includes formula, diapers, and loads of laundry.
It's been difficult. She's had some health problems, and like you said, she's just a baby. But it's also been very rewarding, especially now that she's getting a little bit older and she's smiling and she's, tracking with her eyes, and, I guess that part is more rewarding.
Even though the baby may keep them both up at night, the thought of sending her back to a shelter is what keeps the pair asking, what if?
Who's going to walk her up and down, and who's going to, put her formula in one bottle to another to see if she likes the other one better, and, how are they going to know that she likes the lights on and music? And so I think when I think about the alternative where she could be, it keeps us motivated, and I think it keeps us committed.
Brenda insists it takes little more than love to help these troubled children.
I mean, you have to obviously have a place to live. You have to have, a little extra time, a little extra money, but not a lot. And I think you just have to have the desire, to make the commitment and to see it through.
And it doesn't mean that the child will be in your home forever. The ultimate goal is to bring her back with her birth family.
If you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence about it, throw your hat in the ring, give it a try. Again, it's not a lifetime commitment for fostering. Try it for a year. See if it's something that you're made for. Learn a little bit about the system, help out a couple children, and then get back on the track to whatever you were working toward before.
There is support from other foster families, case managers, and respite workers. But for Scott, loving this baby has brought another benefit to his life.
Overall, it has. It has really strengthened our relationship, because we're working together on this, and we're both getting up at night, sometimes at the same time, most of the time separate, but it's a team effort, so it's definitely strengthened our relationship.